In September 2022, amongst the madness of the COVID-19 event, my husband, Dr. Mark Bailey, published a Farewell to Virology. The treatise was designed to expose the lack of evidence for SARS-CoV-2, as well as the entire virus model itself. Because it dealt with the technical aspects of virology and was fairly lengthy at 28,000 words, we had no idea of the reception. However, within days, it had been downloaded thousands of times in dozens of countries. The views have kept climbing, and the demand has led to French, German, Spanish, Japanese, and Finnish language versions. While many people printed their own copies of the free PDF at home, we felt it was time to publish the treatise in an official book form. Yes, it was a lengthy essay, but on the flip side, you can now enjoy it as a short book. So for the first time in the public domain, I will present Mark's introduction to the book version of A Farewell to Virology, featuring 2 bonus essays. By mid-2020, my wife Samantha and I thought that the COVID event would be over by Christmas. The narrative was so preposterous and was replete with so many contradictions that we believed the majority of people would reject the countermeasures, including the vaccines in the pipeline. However, by early 2021, it was clearly apparent that the fraud was only growing. Most of the public was ensconced in the storyline, and many continued to parrot their puerile marketing slogans aimed at mindlessly propagating and legitimizing the, quote, pandemic.
If the whole world isn't safe, none of us are safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
Nobody is safe until we're all safe.
Health experts have been saying nobody is safe.
Nobody is safe until everybody is safe.
Nobody is safe.
In November 2021, Dr. John Bevan-Smith and I published The COVID-19 Fraud and War on Humanity. The essay focused on the pseudoscientific elements of outbreak modelling, the polymerase chain reaction in the creation of case numbers, and viral genomics. All of these elements had been employed to create the illusion of a coronavirus pandemic. However, the most important pillar of the fraud concerned isolation, that is, the very existence of the purported virus. Everything turns on these 2 concepts, absence and presence. Of what is SARS-CoV-2 predicated, absence or presence? That is the question we must decide. For without the instantiated presence of SARS-CoV-2, there are no COVID-19 cases to count, and therefore no ground or justification for any government's response to a phantom pandemic. For many of us who could see this foundational aspect of the fraud, 2022 was the darkest year during the COVID era. Many governments had successfully indoctrinated their citizenry into the acceptance of a 2-tiered class system based on COVID vaccine passports.
So you basically said this is going to be like, well, it's almost like, you probably don't see it like this, the 2 different classes of people. If you're vaccinated or if you're unvaccinated, you have all these rights. If you are vaccinated...
That is what it is, so yep.
Furthermore, the rules could change on a monthly, if not weekly basis, and countries took turns at brutally suppressing their populations. All of it was reliant on the fear-based narratives involving an alleged novel and dangerous virus, or one of its latest variants. Unfortunately, many of the prominent individuals and organisations who were supposedly against the tyranny continued to uphold the foundational fraud, namely the existence of SARS-CoV-2 as an infectious, disease-causing entity.
I'm not a virus denier. There is actual virus that is a commensal that lives within it's an enterovirus. Yeah.
I think those people should be silenced.
Indeed, 2022 saw many of these freedom fighters ineptly start attacking those of us who had been exposing the pseudoscience of virology. As I wrote in the present essay, in some cases, these critics state that everything about the pandemic is a fraud, except the claim by the virologists and the WHO that SARS-CoV-2 has a physical existence as a pathogenic particle. They cannot see that the very basis of the fraud is also a fraud. One weakness for those of us taking the no virus position was that there was no formal refutation of the entire virus model. There was the Perth Group's HIV, a virus like no other, an uncontested 2017 treatise exposing the lack of evidence for HIV specifically. We also had the pivotal contributions from pioneers such as Dr. Stefan Lanker and David Crow. Virus Mania, first published in 2007 by Torsten Engelbrecht and Dr. Klaus Kuhnlein, was another instrumental publication that exposed virological fraud on a wider front, including the media's role in propagating fear and promoting unnecessary pharmaceuticals. In 2020, the COVID-19 fraud kindled a new wave of no-virus proponents, such as Drs. Andy Kaufman, Tom Cowan, and Sam Bailey, who rapidly took the information to millions of viewers. Every aspect of virological science was dissected in hundreds of video presentations and articles, building on the work of the aforementioned groundbreakers. However, by 2022, I sensed an urgent need for a standalone treatise refuting the virus model. A Farewell to Virology was actually repurposed from another essay I was writing, but was modified in the last month to take its final form. It would have been ideal to have had more time to develop and refine the essay, but there was an immediate feeling of relief when we published it on our website. The only mistakes that were found post-publication were in the form of some minor typographical errors. Within a short time, A Farewell had over 100,000 views, and by 2024, it had over 250,000 views on our website alone. In 2023, filmmaker Steve Falconer took on the difficult task of converting the text into a 3-part video production, and this also garnered hundreds of thousands of views across our platforms. The essay has now been translated into multiple languages and has reached every corner of the world. Many people have written to us saying that it was this essay that definitively ended their belief in the existence of viruses. So even if it is a bit raw in places, the message is certainly hitting its target. A major theme throughout the essay is the lack of valid controls in the virologists' methodologies. Subsequent to the publication of A Farewell, I realised there needed to be a formal outline explaining why their gold standard isolation technique cannot be controlled. Hence, in 2024, I published Virology's Event Horizon, which took the refutation of the virus model to the most foundational level. In essence, the cell culture method is nothing more than a smokescreen used by virologists to hide the deception that their evidence for viruses is based on assertion and not demonstration. The critical factor is that viruses have never been discovered in nature and subsequently studied. As I have previously stated, virology invented itself as a pursuit before establishing whether or not the imagined entities actually existed. That is why virology is a pseudoscience, and why its elaborate paraphernalia of cell cultures, electron microscopy, human and animal experiments, purported diagnostic tests, and epidemiological data is nothing more than an elaborate subterfuge substituting presence for absence. Likewise, because none of the speculative premises on which virology is based have ever been established scientifically, we should not accept any new claims that are the product of more recent or new technology, such as metagenomics or proteomics. Hence, Virology's Event Horizon has been included in this book to emphasise the importance of this fact. Perhaps one oversight of A Farewell was not addressing bacteriophages and giant viruses. These were included in virus, bacteriophage, and single virus genomics, an essay in which I also responded to technological advancements as purported evidence for the virus model. While the notional virus model has changed over time, the underlying premise of a contagious disease-causing entity has never been established. Nevertheless, its proponents have attempted to incorporate naturally observed particles, such as bacteriophages, into the virological realm, without establishing they are viruses, while portraying technological advances as the reason for their purported discovery. In view of this potential oversight, while endeavouring to expose the flaws in the virus model, the essay has also been included in this book. All of these essays, complete with their hyperlinks, can be freely downloaded at drsambailey.com. There are paperback and hardcover versions of the book available at lulu.com, and both feature full colour pages. If you really want to support our work, please get yourself a copy of this special hardcover version that features a cloth cover and dust jacket. And don't forget to apply the coupon code Bailey20 for a 20% discount. Please see the video description for further details. A Farewell to Virology will also be available at Amazon.com with paperback and Kindle versions. If you get a copy from Amazon, please post a review to encourage other people to discover this pivotal work. As Mark wrote, the threat of virology to humanity is increasing, so it is time we bid farewell to these destructive pseudoscientific practices and free ourselves from unnecessary fears. If you enjoyed this video, please visit supportdrsam.com.